So potentially the last day of primaries, well, it is the last day of primaries in America at the moment, potentially the last day of having to use the term presumptive nominee. In the last couple of days, Hillary Clinton has been dubbed the winner, although as most people are aware, the final vote won't come out until June 14th, June 15th in fact, which is when the superdelegates vote in their convention. However, most are saying that she's in, she's not going to be tipped up, and actually looking at the results as we speak right now, as this is being filmed, California is still voting, and of the six elections today, Clinton has currently won 4 of them, Sanders has won 1 of them, and California is still to come. So you would have to think that for those people who want Bernie Sanders to stay on, although I think he probably has a case until today to stay on, I don't think there was any reason before today for him to drop out. Ironically, this time in 2008, this was the day that Clinton dropped out for Obama. I wonder if this will be the day that Sanders drops out and lets Clinton move forward.
David's got a number of opinions on this particular topic,
Dominic.
Pat, so
I've always thought actually that, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of the American political system, hasn't there? Because it's a wee bit rigged, because you've got these delegates who vote for the president, and the wider population then get a choice of a couple.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably been quite a good idea in the past, because it's stopped the Donald Trumps of this world getting in, hasn't it? Because if you ask the American people to choose someone, they might choose someone completely mental, like they seem to be doing now, but the whole system seemed to have fallen over.
Mental side of things is interesting, using that phrase. I would never use that phrase, David. Never. But strange, odd, peculiar choices that they're making. The most unfavourable presidential nominee in history, Donald Trump. The second most unfavourable presidential nominee in history, Hillary Clinton. So this year, the
unfavourable according to who?
Well, polls.
Right.
They polled people on
the
the
most
favourability.
unfavourable. There was no one in like the 1932 election or something that was
as long as
unfavourable.
polling's gone on at this point in the cycle, they are the 2 most unfavourable, least liked, however you want to word it, according to polls, politicians running for the highest office in the world, you would say. It's interesting actually, because there's one thing still hanging around. I wonder if Bernie will stay in today, and it's purely because of the potential indictment for Hillary Clinton. So for those who don't know, there's currently 12 FBI investigators looking into a case where she is the head of, to do with her email servers. Did she release secret information to someone knowingly or unknowingly?
Which she's not going to be indicted for, and you know that. She's not going to be we can sit here next week and talk about the fact that I was right and she wasn't indicted.
I think
or
you're
the week
right.
after.
I don't think it's quite as... You're making it an absolute. I would say it's highly unlikely. I wouldn't quite be as absolute.
Indictment was the term used, right? So, and I mean, you know, would she be slapped over the wrist? Maybe, I don't know. But have you actually found it interesting that the fascination in the last election or two, in terms of the US presidential elections, particularly this one, New Zealanders' fascination with it? I'm just finding it quite interesting, actually. Just from
Donald Trump, isn't it? Donald Trump is a maniac, and that's why people have gravitated towards
it. But even a bit before he sort of, because he was like I guess he was the circus part of it.
Clown.
Yeah.
Circus clown.
Yeah, he was. But I find it fascinating how many people. It's kind of like NFL fans. Are they really that into it though, or is it just cool to sort of know your Hillarys and your Bernies and your Donalds?
Well, it's interesting because you're talking about the small number of people who are voting now. To get the nominee for president, I think Hillary Clinton's got about 18 million votes from this primary process. Out of what, 340 million people, you know, half of which are probably voting age. So out of, let's say, 200 million-ish people, 18 million votes to 20 million votes are going to get her to be one step away from the president. So it is really small. And then typically within the final voting process, only half of Americans vote anyway. So 25% of Americans will vote to pick the next American president, which is always the case.
I think they'll probably choose someone awful.
You reckon? It is probably the case this time round.